Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Want to take a deeper dive into this Oklahoma Sooners team and talk about what things they need to clean up as they head into a massive matchup against Oklahoma State. This has been a team that I know a lot of frustrated Oklahoma fans that it just hasn't really looked like the same team coming out of the bye that you saw before the bye, knocking off teams like Texas. And I want to talk about and kind of dive into a few things that they need to change on both sides of the football. This is a team that, again, still one of the best teams in the country, but I think they need to get back to that form they were playing at before the bye week. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do it, just want to say thank you to you guys and especially the Oklahoma fans. The amount of support the Sooner fans have shown anytime we're talking Oklahoma football, it's been amazing. It means a lot. So many Boomer Sooners in the comment section. So just wanted to say thank you to you guys. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. More importantly, and again, the best part about talking Oklahoma football, I get a ton of feedback from you guys. Whether you agree, whether you disagree, I learn a ton from you guys in the comment section. So would love to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. And I got the Danny Stutzman shirt on. Kind of getting some good vibes, hoping Danny Stutzman can be healthy against Oklahoma State. Without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with the offense first. And kind of a precursor that I feel like a lot of fans still need to remember. And I'm just as frustrated with what this offense looked like against Kansas as most Oklahoma fans are. This is still a really good offense, right? I mean, it's third in the country in points per game at 41.9 points per game. That being said, I feel like they played a little bit scared on offense against Kansas. And that's kind of the first thing I want to talk about is this is a team the first half of the season, they were playing to win the football game. You go back to that Texas game, they were telling Dylan Gabriel, hey, we trust you as a sixth-year senior quarterback to go out and beat one of the best teams in the country in the Texas Longhorns. That's exactly what he did. Against Kansas, I don't know what flipped, but something flipped with their confidence. And I get he threw an ugly pick six to start this game. That doesn't mean you go away from your six-year senior quarterback who's been around the block plenty of times in terms of winning you the football game. 14 of 19 for 171 yards. I get the conditions were bad, but that is just way too much of a one-dimensional, timid offense from my perspective. And what, 6 of those attempts were when you're trying to go win the game with the last drive. So really, they just weren't. It wasn't a two-dimensional offense. And I don't know whether it was the lack of confidence in Dylan Gabriel. I don't know if it was the weather and the elements, but whatever it is, like you're gonna have to play in some bad weather down the stretch if you want to win December, November football games. Sometimes the weather's not going to be great. You're still going to have to move the ball and hit chunk plays through the air. The most frustrating part about it is this was an offense that excelled at this heading into this game. Dylan Gabriel was top 10 in the country in yards per pass attempt heading into this Kansas game. You take a look at his throwing chart, they only attempted 2 passes 20 plus yards down the field all game. And they only attempted 3 passes 10 plus yards down the field. So you take a look at that, only 5 total attempts 10 plus yards downfield all game. That is just not going to cut it in terms of how you want to run your offense. And again, it goes back to playing to win this game. I felt like a lot of times you go back to the first half when they had a minute left on the clock with all 3 of their timeouts and they take knees heading into the half. That type of outlook on this offense, it's not going to win you a national championship. And this Oklahoma team's goal, let's make no mistake about it. I get they just lost to Kansas. This is a team that can win the Big 12 and be a contender for a national championship. But the only way you do that is trusting your quarterback to go out and win you football games. And I felt like that trust just simply wasn't there on Saturday against Kansas. I'm really hoping they go back to that against Oklahoma State. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is marrying the pass and the run game. This is an Oklahoma team that ran the ball phenomenally against Kansas. I mean, Tyree Walker was an absolute hammer, and it starts there. I mean, this was this is an offense that if they're running the football well, what does Kansas or any opposing defense need to do? They need to put some bodies in the box to try to stop that run game. That's exactly what Kansas did. Now, what you should be doing, in my opinion, if you're running the ball as well as Oklahoma did, is work in that RPO and start taking the top off of defenses, working that middle of the field with those linebackers sucked in. And it never really seemed like they got to that. Like you talk about what you want to do and how you want to script the game. Oklahoma, if you were to ask Jeff Lebby, how do you want this game to look? It is establish the run, get those linebackers sucked up playing the run and trying to stop this run. And then we're beating them over the middle with that RPO game. They were winning on the ground. They were running the football extremely well. It never seemed like they went to that RPO, which was a little bit more disappointing in how they ran the offense. Again, 33 points on the board, but how they ran the offense and kind of the dynamic in the feel to this offense just didn't feel like they were trying to go out and win this football game. Now, the defense, one, massively improved defense. I don't think anyone can argue that. But outside of the bye week, there's been some things that you want to see a little bit more of. The first thing is get back to that Brent Venables defense. I remember recapping an Oklahoma defensive performance 2 or 3 weeks ago saying this is the defense that we envisioned when Brent Venables took over the program in Norman. You go back and look at this Kansas game. Like before this game, Oklahoma, number 1 team in the country in tackles for loss per game. This was a team that was living behind the line of scrimmage, wrecking a lot of havoc for opposing quarterbacks. You go back and watch the film against Kansas, looking at the charts, Jason Bean, 32 dropbacks. They only blitzed him 10 times. And when they did blitz him, he was only 4 of 10 with 2 of his interceptions. And so what has worked for Oklahoma all year has been that aggressive style of defense. And will you maybe give up a big play? Sure, you might. That being said, you're forcing 2 interceptions. You're creating game-changing plays. And I feel like Oklahoma just didn't really get to that. You talk about this Brent Venables defense that's going to be in your face. It's going to be aggressive. That SEC caliber defense. It didn't feel like that against Kansas. The second thing I want to talk about is you got to tackle better, especially going into an Oklahoma State game where you're seeing arguably the best running back in the country in the month of October. And Ollie Gordon, you take a look at what Ollie Gordon has done, 24 missed tackles the last 4 games, 25 runs of 10-plus yards in the last 4 weeks. Ollie Gordon has playing at another level, and it's really no secret what Oklahoma State is going to want to do on Saturday. They're going to want to turn around and give the ball to Ollie Gordon. And Oklahoma needs to come up and tackle better. You go back to the UCF game, they missed 16 tackles. You go to the Kansas game, they missed 11. And this has been a team that's been tackling extremely well in space heading into these games. And they just haven't really tackled as well as you'd like. And getting Danny Stutzman back, going to be massive. Getting Gentry Williams back, hopefully going to be massive. That being said, whoever is on the field, you have to be tackling, because if you do not tackle Ollie Gordon, it is going to be tough sledding against this Oklahoma State offense. So my overall take on this Sooners performance, and I've watched the tape, this was my 3rd time watching it this morning, is I want to get back to that Oklahoma team that believes they can go out and win a national championship. When I say believes they can go out and win a national championship, that means they're trusting their guys to go make those plays. Against Kansas, the play calling just seemed like they didn't trust their players, and they were trying not to lose that game. If Oklahoma wants to achieve their goals, and again, these goals can include winning a Big 12 title, winning a national championship, you have to trust your guys to go out and make plays and take it to the opposing team. I just didn't feel like you had that vibe heading into this one against Kansas. And I think the most exciting part about this is you're going into a rivalry game. That's going to be the last one you see in a while. And it's a team that's a top 25 team in the country. Like I would much rather have, after a really tough loss against Kansas, you're playing a really good Oklahoma State team that is going to feel good when you beat them at, versus the Oklahoma State team that we saw the first half of the season. Really excited to see what the Sooners do. I'm hoping it was a wake-up call for the players and coaching staff, and I'm not trying to throw any coach or player under the bus, but a wake-up call in terms of this is a team that can go out and win a Big 12 title. We know that. Go treat this team like they can go win a Big 12 title. Go ask them to make the plays. Go take it to the opposing team. That's kind of what I want to see against Oklahoma State. And if you lose the game, you can live with it. But you don't want to lose a game where you're playing not to lose and not going out and making plays and letting your players make plays. Go out and try to win this football game. If you don't win, you can live with it. But don't go out trying not to lose and go down with not trusting your players to go out and win a caliber game like this. Those are my takes on it. Really excited for the game. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.